Hey shooters, Trueshot Technology here again. I'm going to do one more build on a Yugo SKS this time. This thing has a muzzle brake that has been welded on. So I'm going to have to cut that off. So I'm going to cut the barrel here first. Then I'm going to remove the rest of this stuff. Just because that muzzle brake is welded on, it probably came from a communist state. Okay, in an effort to use the puller from Harbor Freight, although I still recommend the matrix puller, just trying to figure out a way to do this cheaper for the SKS as well as the Mini 14. You want that barrel to be cut off at 1 inch, 350. That gives you room to shorten it to 1 inch, 310, 312, 1 5/16 when you crown it. So I'm going to cut it right there, right in here. I'm going to make a mark at 1 350 from the step. That'll leave us room for the sight to go on all the way, and 60 thousandths extra between the step and the rear of the sight as a safety measure to make sure that that sight is on all the way. Alright, that's cut off. I put a 5/8 ID split shaft collar on the barrel. This Harbor Freight puller, this is a Harbor Freight automotive pulley puller. It's about 15 bucks. I'm going to move these arms to these 2 points because it's narrower, it'll work easier for this. And then I'm going to try to pull this off with this setup. So here we got a 1/4 cap head screw, 1.5 inches long. That spacer is a 1/2 inch long, 3/8 OD, 1/4 inch ID. Put that in the bore. And we're hoping the puller will work now. Okay, that just barely fits now. Just room to get this all the way back down and get all that set up on with that collar. I'm going to use a 19mm socket on an intactor, or you can use a wrench. Let's see if this will pull that side off. Okay, got it off that far. Now it just comes off by hand. So there is a cheaper way to do it. I had to cut the barrel 2 times. Actually, I could have just done it once if I would have known. All right, I'm test fitting the Trueshot SKS modular front sight. This one's a little tight. It doesn't really want to go on there. It's real close. You can feel it try to go on. But you're going to have variance in these older surplus rifles. There's just no way around that. I've done 5 or 6 of these now, and this is the first one I've had to do this. So I'm going to take a piece of 100 grit emery cloth, strip of it, and I'm just going to take this down like this on the top, and then like this on the bottom, and then the sides. Keeping it on from the step forward until it fits. It's going to take a little bit of work on some of them. Some of it's going to fit just fine. Like I said, this is 5 or 6, and this is the first one I've had to do this too. But it's very, very small. It's only 1 or 2 thousandths. They got to come off. Next is the rear end here. We're going to take that little cross pin off the latch cover pin. I hope you guys can see this. I think I'm still in view here. I'm going to take a Dremel with a stone on it. I'm going to grind that little nub off and pull this cross pin out. Pretty quick and easy. Alright. Trueshot see-through peep size scope mount. We got the receivers all clean, stock's clean, everything, front end's done. Put this scope mount on even in the back. Want it flush back here. You can take the bolt, put it through there if you want, but you don't need to do that right now. Right now you want to make some marks for making the stock fit. So just lay it on there where it's flush, take a straight edge. It can be anything. A business card will work fine. Make a mark even with the back of the scope mount, which is even with the back of the receiver. Put a line on your stock. Make a line on the front of the scope mount, straight down on your stock. Okay, that's the first step. Okay, with the dust cover on and the rear bolt going through the scope mount, mark the bottom of this. What you really want to do is get it around this corner. I'm using a mechanical pencil here. Make a mark around the corner, and then we're going to take a straight edge and make that mark go across. Sorry. I'm going to carry that mark all the way around the back end of it. Alright, now with the trigger assembly and the barrel action back in the stock, you have your mark that you just made on your receiver. It's probably hard for you guys to see, and this is the left side of the receiver, mind you, where it's the high side. So make a line on the receiver, even with this line you just made with the bare receiver. And draw that line all the way up, keeping it square, and that'll show you where to remove the material from the left side of the stock. Alright, looking at it from the top with a straight edge, with a ruler, just make a line lined up with this line that's on the receiver, up to this line you made on the stock, and you have a section all in here. It's about an 1/8 inch, maybe 3/16. It's got to come off that left side, and then that scope mount will fit fine. So what I did was I used a rasp. After I took down a lot of this with a belt sander, get it close, and I used a rasp. Get it up here to your mark, this mark we made on this side up here with the scope mount on, and just make this side the same height as this side. This can be your guide, the right side. Get it all flush. Take off the edges, blow it off, and that's good to go for the scope mount. So you got it where you think you're done. Check it on both sides. Put some pencil mark where it's touching, a little bit there. And I got a tiny bit to the corner right here, and a tiny bit here. Go back with that rasp file and take off a little more until you got clearance. You can see the top of the stock, and you can see the receiver, then the scope mount. Just a tiny bit, that's all you need. Okay, I'm going to drill and tap for this scope mount in a way that most of you guys can do at home. I have a mill, I have a drill press, but I don't want to make you guys think you have to have those machines to do this. I have a C-clamp on a piece of wood holding the receiver to the bench. Then I have one of these quick clamps, quick release clamps called Quick Grip, or there's other brands, holding the scope mount tight down onto the receiver. Now I'm going to drill 3/16 holes through this side, then I'm going to repeat the same on the other side. Then I'm going to take the scope mount off. I'm going to drill those 3/16 holes to the tap drill size for a 1/4 28, which I believe is 213, which is a number 3. Then I'm going to tap it 1/4 28. Then I'm going to take the scope mount and open these 3/16 holes up to 1/4 inch, slightly over 1/4 inch. Okay, but I'm going to use a 1/4 inch drill. All you want to do is clear that 1/4 20 button head screw that comes with the kit. And it's that simple. I mean, it's not a tough job. You don't have to use a machine. I'm going to use a cordless drill, and everything should come out just fine. Just take your time. Keep the drill on low RPM. Use a little bit of oil. Take your time. Clean it up real nice when you're done, and you'll have a good, solid, repeatable scope mount. If you haven't yet, watch the video on range test we did on repeatability on this. It can't move. If you get these holes in place, there's nowhere for it to move up and down, and the tight fitting of the extrusion it's made out of, it can move left and right. You can see this. I'm not going to show the whole thing, I'm just showing you that I am using a cordless drill. And the hole that's already in that scope mount is going to guide this bit into the right position. Just take your time. Low gear. Keep it as straight up and down as you can. Take your time, use a little oil, take your time. Quick reminder, you go through with a 3/16 drill first, then a 213. I'm going to do a little change here, you guys. I'm going to tap it while I'm already set up here, right through the scope mount and into the receiver. And I'll make the changes on that for the instructions, because there's no reason to flip it over, drill, tap, and flip it over, and tap, tap. So we're going to tap it here, then we're going to flip it over, drill 3/16, then 213, then tap it again on the other side. Okay, with the first side drilled and tapped, just install one of the button head screws tightly, and then you don't have to use a clamp this way on this second side. Okay, it's drilled and tapped on both sides. I opened up the hole on the scope mount to 1/4 inch on each side, and I vacuumed the chips away. Wipe this off with a paper towel or a rag with alcohol only. Don't use hard chemicals like acetone or carburetor cleaner. Just a quick wipe with alcohol. Clean out your receiver. You can go in here with some sandpaper and take that little bit of burr off, and then wipe it with alcohol. Scope mount is done. Alright, 5/32 Allen wrench. Put the rear bolt through, put the lock nut through. It'll line up in this little slot, and it'll tighten. That'll hold it while you tighten it up. Snug all 3 of them up. Finger tight. Then tighten. You know, you don't have to watch me do this, but tighten this rear bolt first. Then tighten the 2 front bolts, and it's ready for a scope to be mounted on it. Okay, now for the front sight. 2 foot by 2 foot by 1/2 inch piece of drywall you can get at Home Depot for $5. Gives you a flat surface to work with. You're going to seat the scope rail on the drywall. You're going to put Loctite around the barrel the whole distance. Have yourself a paper towel or something ready to go. This is Loctite 620. You'll get a tube of this in your kit. Shake it up first, I already did that. And this is the easy way to get the sight aligned to the center of the board. So lift it up, put the sight on, twist it back and forth as you go, and make sure it's all the way to the rear. Quickly wipe it off, the excess. And now, hold the gun back here where you can feel that scope rail square on the drywall, and rock it until you feel the 2 points of the top of the front sight flat. You'll be able to feel any rock in there. When you feel everything squared up, you know you're centered to the board. And you can feel it. Move it slightly to the right, slightly to the left. Make sure it's all the way on, as far to the rear as it will go. Rock it while you're holding it back until you get it where it seats flat. Let it sit for a half an hour, and then put the set screws in with Loctite, and that's the front sight installation. Okay, the last thing on this is knock out the factory rear sight, which on this Yugo, you just put this screwdriver at a 45-degree angle against the front of the sight and just tap it with a hammer backwards and it'll pop right out. There is no pin to remove on a Yugo. There is on a Russian and an Arenco. The pin is built in this sight. Then we put a 1/8 inch roll pin in there to hold that spring down. Now you'll be able to see the Gen 2 front sight through the rear peep sight. And always remember, you can use the factory front sight, you can use the factory rear sight, take the peep sight out of the scope mount, and just use the see-through channel. And the only thing left is to show you the whole thing together and put it in a newer stock too. And here's the finished Yugo SKS. Just a quick look, quick reminder. We showed you how the scope mount is simple to install even on a bench with C-clamps and other clamps, no drill press, no milling machine needed. It will repeat 0. It has no choice not to by design. I showed you there's a rear peep sight included in the scope mount. I showed you how to remove the rear sight. It's that simple. Put a pin in there to keep your sight view open for the modular front sight. Just put a Tapco slant brake on here. All I did was screw it on to the position I wanted, close to the full length of thread width. 263 Loctite. Front sight's adjustable for elevation, rear sight's adjustable for windage. That's quick wrap up. So you got all the start to finish on this Yugo, the stock mod and everything else. Most of the aftermarket stocks you won't need to take as much material off on that left side as you did this one. But hope that cleared up any more questions you might have about Trueshot Technologies SKS products. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and have fun.